Happy week 2, everybody. Already have a ton of injury carnage out there. Of course, it's the NFL, COVID-shortened offseason, so a lot to sift through because, again, we know that injury impact matters so much when trying to set the perfect DFS lineup, win a ton of money, send the screenshots, brag. So let's get into it. The first one, obvious, Darrington Evans, King Henry's backup, will not play again. So that makes Derrick Henry not only the lock of the week, but the lock of the century. Jaguars, I'm not ready to anoint them yet. Fantastic matchup. And sticking with that, Ryan Tannehill has a good matchup too. Well, he's missing his top target. A.J. Brown is out. Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, Jonnu Smith. I like all three. Obviously, Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith a lot more than Adam Humphries. But there's shallow target distribution there. And of course, I have my love for Corey Davis. You can go watch my video on the same YouTube channel. So both significant injuries, obviously more so from a player standpoint, A.J. Brown, making Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, Adam Humphries, who are all affordable, putting them squarely in play. Number 3, the Lions' cornerback situation is a mess. Their secondary is already atrocious going into the season. Now we've got Desmond Trufant and Justin Coleman out. This is going to be a welcome to the NFL moment for Jeffrey Okudah. We have angry Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Mr. Wide Receiver 1, especially with Michael Thomas injured, Allen Lazard, MVS, Aaron Jones, who can catch passes out of the backfield. Don't forget about that from a contrarian standpoint. Everybody is in play here on the Packers. Number 4, Chris Godwin is doubtful. That's extremely significant concussion. Probably not going to play. Obviously, we have to monitor that. But if he does not play, we know that Mike Evans was less than 100% last week, even though he still managed to play the whole game. Well, Bruce Arians comes out, says it's inexcusable not to get him a ton of targets. Now, if there's no Chris Godwin, in a fantastic matchup with an angry Tom Brady, just like we have an angry Aaron Rodgers. Brady's still looking for his first W here on his new team. I think he gets it this week, and if they want to make this a Brady game, they absolutely can. So Mike Evans stock through the roof. Scotty Miller had a good game last week, absolutely in play. The tight ends, the running backs, because of course I've talked about this being the worst defense in football over and over, and I will continue to say it. The Panthers, Ronald Jones, 5,900 on FanDuel, lock him in. However, the direct beneficiary, which we don't always want to only focus on the direct beneficiary. However, it does put Justin Watson in play. Justin Watson will be in the slot for Chris Godwin if Chris Godwin is out. Number 5, Kenny G is going to miss again. So Marvin Jones kind of burned people last week, didn't have a great game. People will get bored. People want to move over to new plays, recency bias after 1 week. Marvin Jones is a beast. He's historically, had great games against the Packers. I realize the Packers defense is really good now. But at the end of the day, he's a very good GPP play because, of course, shallow target distribution in Detroit where we expect them to be playing from behind and have to throw a lot. That puts TJ Hawkinson back in play, and that puts Quintez Cephus, whatever that is, who played a ton, had 10 targets in week 1, squarely in play. I still prefer Danny Amendola. I'm still not ready to anoint Quintez, even though he did play more than Danny Amendola in week 1. Still prefer Danny A on the GPP radar. Number 6, no Leighton Vander Esch, no Sean Lee, and no Gerald McCoy for the Cowboys. Their front 7 all of a sudden is looking pretty thin, and Todd Gurley gives us somewhat of contrarian exposure to by far the best game of the week, right? The Falcons have a pretty good offensive line. Gurley saw a ton of work in week 1, scored a touchdown, then they got, far behind. Is this going to be the same situation? Potentially, it kind of looks to be that way, but at the end of the day, Gurley is a very interesting GPP pivot off of Zeke, or we can do what we did last week, right, with Christian McCaffrey and Josh Jacobs, and we can just play them both in the same game. Number 7, Blake Jarwin is out, so that makes obviously, the wide receivers in this fantastic best fantasy game on the main slate of the week interesting. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb tied for the most slot snaps in the league in week 1. He did not blow up in week 1, so people, are probably going to wait until they see that. This is a matchup where he absolutely can go off, and I talked about it on the podcast. The Russell Gages, the Robbie Andersons of the world, we want to elevate their stock in fantastic matchups, and we know the type of player that CeeDee Lamb can be. This could be a situation where the public perception overall is much different if CeeDee balls out in this game. Should run a ton of routes across the middle of the field where Jarwin would have been. However, in addition to that, Dalton Schultz is Jarwin's direct beneficiary, played 50 snaps in week 1, even with Jarwin obviously starting and playing the game, 69% of the snaps. On FanDuel, he's only $4,000. All he needs to do is catch a touchdown to pay off. A couple more here. Number 8, George Kittle is out. The more I want to anoint Jordan Reed, but the more I think about this, I do think I have to pour some cold water on it. I think Ross Dwelley will still be in play as well, and it will be somewhat of a timeshare. Jordan Reed with the injury history. Who knows how bad George Kittle's injury is? They probably want to preserve Jordan Reed and continue to build him up in this offense. Only his second game on the Niners, but Brandon Ayuk in his first game, similar to the CeeDee Lamb situation, people don't want to play guys until they've seen it. Well, Brandon Ayuk, look at the 49ers wide receivers, right? In a fantastic matchup against a putrid 49ers team and defense. Brandon Ayuk could go off. He is set to play, and then Kendrick Bourne is back on the tournament radar as well. Marlon Mack is out. I wish this was something that I was talking about higher because I kind of am going by order of importance. But Jonathan, because I love Jonathan Taylor, and I have him in a lot of places, but Jonathan Taylor is still sharing time with Nyheim Hines, and this matchup is better from a passing standpoint for Phillip Rivers than it is for running football. The Vikings front seven is still pretty solid, so it's kind of tough there because we know that we want to play stud running backs with guaranteed volume in DFS, especially on the main slate when we have a ton of options. So something to monitor because both guys are affordable, but not my favorite. And then just a couple more. Jack Doyle and Trey Burton are both out. That makes Mo Alley-Cox the starting tight end for the Colts. But going even deeper, Michael Pittman is questionable. Whether he plays or not, that makes Paris Campbell very interesting. Already his value skyrocketed after week 1. Similar to CeeDee Lamb, runs a lot of his routes in the middle of the field where he should be getting a ton of looks against a bad Vikings secondary. Obviously, Rodgers and Devontae Adams just proved that for us last week. So did MVS. So don't sleep on T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton is not dead yet. Let's not bury him. The dude can still play, and could he have some form of a Devontae Adams game here? It's certainly possible on the tournament radar. The Cowboys, just a couple more. The Cowboys' offensive line is something that I'm monitoring. Even though we love this game, we might have to and the matchup's fantastic. We still might have to minimize the exposure just a little bit if Tyrone Smith, their all-pro left tackle, misses. He's questionable because they're already without Lyle Collins and Cam Irving as well. Same thing in the trenches on the other side of the ball. Nose tackle Kenny Clark for the Packers is out. Obviously, this is tough because we think the Lions are playing from behind, but a super contrarian play. Adrian Peterson had 17 opportunities in week 1. The Packers do not have a good run defense, and they didn't have a good run defense before Kenny Clark was out. We all remember what Raheem Mostert did to the Packers in the playoffs last year. And then the last one, Jamison Crowder and Denzel Mims are both out. So yes, if we want to play Chris Herndon, just due to guaranteed volume and game script that they'll have to throw, that's great. I think he's more of a DraftKings play than a FanDuel play for that. But obviously, the 49ers, by far, even with Richard Sherman out, the number 1 best defensive play on the slate. So obviously, there's more than that, but those are the ones that matter most to me when I'm setting lineups, and I hope this can help you guys out in some way. Week 2, let's get this money, baby.